Hey guys, Liger0JPS here, and I've been asked a few times by a few of my friends about the playstyle I use on controller because they seen my videos and they've always like, you don't switch hotbars, and they always ask. So here I'm going to explain this and show how it's set up and everything. This works on console and PC. If you're a controller user, this will help for you. Not everybody uses this, but honestly, it is a highly recommended thing to use. It does wonders for those if you can deal with it. Now I will say, even though I have bad arthritis and cramps and pains in my right hand, I can still play like this. It doesn't bother me. What helps to make this work is sometimes playing other games, mainly games with QTEs, or sometimes fighting games. That helps with the speed in your fingers. Helps a lot of the times, because I wish I had my camera plugged in and showing, but I don't. This would rely mostly on either your index finger or your middle finger, so whichever of the two you use. So mainly this is going to rely on double taps and holds. So you either hold or you double tap to do the switching. So, like I said, right now I have 32 buttons showing right now on screen. That may seem like a lot and more than PC to a degree, but this benefits me in the long run. So, let's go ahead and show this how this works. So, you come into the menus, you come to character configuration. Come on down to hotbar settings. Now in here we're going to find what we're looking for, and we're going to come all the way. Now this can work on any job, any class, whatever, but we're going to come over to cross first. Now this is very specific, so the first thing you're going to do is make sure your cross hotbar controls are set to hold. Do not use toggle or mixed, because this will not work. In fact, I tried toggle and mixed. Toggle means if I press R2, it's going to technically kind of like it will just act like I'm holding. I press it and now I'm just using there, but I can't access. I'll never be able to access my double tap of which is right above it to the upper right, which is where my AoEs are. I couldn't access that. Same thing if I did the left side. I couldn't access where my nascent flashes are and my interject and low blow. I couldn't access those stuff. Mixed is kind of like both, but it's really clunky, so I don't use it. Cross hotbar controls has to be set to hold. Cross hotbar display type, it doesn't matter. I keep it neutral because if I try this, I'm not going to switch a bit. It's going to switch my stuff. Like you'll see my it'll switch a lot of stuff. If I switch it to just D-pad and face buttons, like, you know, face buttons, I can't do that. That will just drive me up a wall. But if you want to see what it looks like, it would do that to that main bar, and I can't do that. It doesn't affect the other ones though, so which is good. Well, I don't think it won't affect my secondary ones, but I want to say if I did switch the inputs, yeah, down here it switches, but up there it won't, so that's good. So let's switch this back to normal. Now also down here is W cross hotbar display settings. Turn this on. Always display it, because if I don't see that stuff. They still pop up if I double tap, but I don't want that. Do not use return to XHB after WXHB input, because if you do this, what it would make you do is you would you hit your button and then it'll go back to your main hotbar. Don't do this, because if you want to stay on that W, like for me, when I play healer, I always want to stay on that bar because that's all my DPS stuff. Same thing if I'm playing any DPS and I'm doing AoEs and dungeon pulls. I don't want to keep switching back. I'd rather just be held to it. Position separately, that's up to you. But you have to go into your HUD layout. Because once you turn this on, this will put these in the HUD layout, especially if you have these separate. Because if you don't, it separates them like that. And it puts them closer, which is not bad. But I prefer them separate like this. I'm just picky like that. Though I think the right one is a little off-centered, but it doesn't bother me. Here's the biggest thing here. WXHP input timer. This is very specific to you. 25 is where it's set to default. If you drop it down to 10, it takes longer. I can't even get to it. If you drag it all the way to 100, you're going really fast. So you mess around with this, see what's comfortable for you. I might change this. I always leave it at 25 because it feels decent enough that if I hit that button, I hit what I need. Because I'm not too crazy about trying all the way up at 100. But for some of you, it depends on how you feel about it. Mess around with this. But 25 is the default, and that usually works well for me. After you have that set up, you come over here to custom. If you're going to do this for PvP, you got to scroll down too for it because this is PvE. So here we are in custom, and this is expand hole controls. Cannot use toggle type. It literally tells you this. Cannot use toggle type because if you use toggle type, it's going to fuck you over. And this is where you activate your extra, and this is where you enable expanded hotbar and WXHB. So this expanded hotbar is if you hold L2 R2 or R2 L2, it actually responds to your input. Oh, which one's held first? I set these both to the same because trying to set them on two different things is really janky. And it's not really a good idea, really. I had these set to cross hotbar 3 on the left side. Though technically I play right to left with everything lined up. This is fine though that it's going like, you know, okay, you're doing right to left. It's fine. Usually because I play right to left, which just means I'm playing right down up. Right down left up. Technically it should be up left right down how I play, but because I just don't play like that, I just play it like if I'm going in a circle. It makes it easier for me to play like this. So I set these things to the same. So whatever, when I enable this and I hold L2 R2, boom, it goes there. Or if I hold R2 L2, boom, it goes there. That's the first setup, and that gives me access to that. So that means I have an extra 8 buttons I can use, which is good because when I'm on the move and I was like, oh, tank buster, don't have to switch, just do that, boom, and I can continue on. This is also good when you're trying to weave stuff in, because sometimes you're like, crap, I don't feel like trying to switch over and lose it. This is good because believe it or not, on certain jobs where you want to weave stuff in, this is good to help you do that weaving. Believe it or not, it actually works. And most likely I want to go back to all of my other jobs and set all my buffs there, but because I have bad memory for buffs with DPSs, I most likely will have to put a little hotbar across the top or somewhere on the side where I can see all those buttons and see those cooldowns when they come in off cooldown, so I would know, because it makes doing a lot of that DPS stuff easier. Now WXHB, simultaneously L2 and R2 double tap. Now it was weird because it's just this L2 or R2. enable only action buttons. If you do that, you only get 4 buttons. But I'm enabling this so I can have all 8. And this is how hotbar 2 comes into place. L2 has left for double tapping and R2 has right. This makes it easier for me so I know what buttons I'm pressing and where they at. And this works really fluid in combos for me. Trust me, dungeon pulling AoEs, I can. And here's another thing. You can chain a double tap into expand. You can do the WXHP to expand it. You can do normal to expand it. And they all work together in a fluid motion. It's great. You can also go from normal to WXHP to expand it. It's a little clunky, but it also depends on your reaction time to it. So it all works in a fluid motion for controllers. Now, if your hands are bad, I'm sorry. Or if you have small fingers, I'm sorry, this may not work for you. But like I said, even for somebody like me with arthritis and even cramps and other issues with my hands, I can make this work. It worked for me a lot. Set selections, I don't worry about this, but this is just for hotbar switching and sheathing. This is only a thing if it really matters. I used to have this set up where it was like, okay, if my weapon was drawn, then hotbars 2 and 3 and 4 would be the available ones, whereas hotbar 1 is not used. So I would be like, okay, let's tomahawk from hotbar 1, and then boom, now it's already on hotbar 2, and now everything is in a fluid motion. I used to do that. I don't do it no more. Now, same thing. I do the same thing for PvP. It's set up the same way. All my actions set up. So this is the same way I play. The settings are the same. So now that I gave the exposition, this is how it looks when in motion. Notice that I switch and everything is still flow in motion. That is literally all it does. Everything flows so well. I don't have to drop anything I do. See? Just like I explained. This is literally a free-flowing motion. You can make this work to your advantage however you want. And as you saw, I never had to take my eye off the target. All I had to do was switch and boom. Now I kind of have a good idea through a progression of a fight of like, okay, this is coming off cooldown. Oh, this is ready. That's right. I can make a switch like this go from this to this, and because of recognized input, boom, I don't have to worry about it. See? You can make reactions that split second fast. Especially if you know how fast your GCDs are. Like, I don't have no clue what mine is. 2.46. Meh. All I have to do is just like, okay, do my normal stuff, hit the button, boom. Easy as that. If this video helped you, hopefully it can make you play better. Now, I will say there is sometimes slight room for error at times, but not so much. I rarely have error moments with this, because honestly, it's some more of a fluid motion and it actually works so much better than what I normally do. Look, I also recommend if you want to play controller and you want to try something different, give this style a try and see if it works for you. I mean, playing controller is fun, and I actually enjoy it because it actually feels, you know, fun. You know, I can actually do some damage and have fun with what I do. And actually, because I play like this actually helped me keep better uptime and damage overall, especially if I'm more focused and, you know, shit's not hitting the fan. This helps me be much of a quick reaction. Now, like I said, if you saw how fast I can go from this to this and then back, or some of the other things, you also gotta be mindful of GCD timings, because you also gotta watch the rolls of your GCDs, because, you know, a GCD to an off GCD sometimes may not work too solid or great, but once you got a good flow, you know, things will flow like, oh, that works so much better. Give it a try, see how it works. If it does you good, hey, you just might help yourself be a better player. Like I said, I've been using this for years, but if you're gonna try this, find a striking dummy and give it a overall practice there before you give it actual practice use. I actually put myself into the thick of it and trying this because, you know, I already had muscle memory of the fights and other stuff I was doing. I just wanted to try this because, you know, I just got sick of hotbar switching and I wanted something different. And like I said, this is something that was introduced, I think, Stormblood-ish. It wasn't, I don't remember this being in Heaven's Ward, but I do know in Stormblood this was a thing. But I just never used it, because I didn't use this until, like I said, Shadowbringers, and then all of Endwalker, and now I'm going to be using this for all of Dawntrail. And if you're a controller player and you want to try something different, give this a try. You can actually do pretty well. And like I said, as long as you got a good flow of time and how things work, from how your GCD rolls, you can pop things on the fly and do this. This gives you more active uptime, and, you know, you can actually roll a lot of things faster together. For tanks, I recommend putting your cooldowns here, because this makes it easier to switch to them. If you're a DPS, I recommend putting your buffs there. Maybe some of your defensive stuff. Like I said, I got to redo a lot of my DPS stuff, so that's going to come later, but I would recommend putting your buffs there. If you're a healer, I would recommend putting some of your, it depends on which healer, some of your off GCD stuff back there that you would use. Like for me on my white mage, like I have a size Asylum, Benediction, and my Liturgy of the Bells. But if you see, everything else is here, and because of this, like I said, how I play, I can literally just do this. Now, me playing healer is a bit more complicated of a thing, because, you know, I would have to consider, you know, oh crap, what if I gotta heal somebody? Well, I'm not in a party, but if I was, I just press down, up or down on the D-pad to target that person, heal them, and then go back to DPSing. It's not hard. I do know with my Scholar, come on, let me reset. Okay, with my Scholar, I actually put my fairy stuff back there, which is pretty much useful as it all is. The only thing is just not my summon fairy, but, you know, the fairy stuff is back there. If I was like Astro, I put the cards, because the card draw stuff is pretty much what you need there. And if I was a Sage, I got my dash, and I got the Cardia, the Eucrasia. I don't. So I just got that stuff. So, you know, it's usually universal. As far as DPS, I think it depends also on the DPS, because I know like Ninja, this is also for all you Ninja players who play controller. I do not recommend putting putting these back here. I do this just because it's easier. Like I said, you might switch it, but I put these three back, this stuff back here, because I don't hit them as often, and I hit them when I need it. But I can also tell you from experience, though, doing this when you have to be on the move is not fun, because I wish I had my camera so I can show you, but this actually changes how you would have to grip your controller. Because if you notice how this is set up, if I have to move and do this, I would have to claw grip my controller, which means I have to change how I use my left hand. So in terms of the fingers I use for left hand and right hand, on my right hand I just use my thumb, my index finger, and my middle finger. I use those three. Depends on the needs of what I'm doing. It's usually that. Usually my right hand is just thumb and index finger, because everything is much more simpler that way. Sometimes the middle finger gets involved, but you know, not as often. On my left hand, it's my thumb, my index finger, and my ring finger, because claw grips is going to be a thing, and I need to, you know, do like this. Yeah, when I got to do something like that, that's not something I would like to do on the fly. So yeah, you can kind of see how that would really be sort of a pain in the ass. Now on something like Dragoon, I have my buff set up back here, like I said, which is really good with what you want. Also, I try to make everything universal, where certain buttons are certain places. So something like this works really well. But also, I'm still leveling up a lot of jobs, so a lot of changes going to go through. Maybe later on I might do a video how I have my hotbar set up and how I play, but for now, this is basically the general idea of the consensus of how I play. Now, if you excuse me, I have another job I need to start leveling, which is my Gunbreaker and Paladin, and my Machinist, and getting those to level 100, and then going back doing physical ranged role quest. So I will catch you guys later. And then also the farm, I ain't gonna say it because, you know, it's still spoiler zone, the 97 dungeon for gear, because that 97 dungeon gear, it's hot, and there's some glams I want to make out of that. So yeah, I will see you guys later. I'm gonna do a sort of a breakdown guide video for the first EX, so stay tuned for that too.